What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the infamous project. Nice sunny day here after quite a few days of rain. So cars are a little filthy, and if you look real close at the GT, you notice it looks a little bit different. If you haven't picked up on it, the original GT wing is back on the car. Why, you might ask? Well, the car is sold and everything was going so smooth. And of course, the day that he's picking up the car, the moment we go out for a test drive, you know, we get down the road and all of a sudden, so the car is sold. Out of nowhere, this guy came to me and said, "Do you have any hatchback Mustangs for sale?" And I'm like, "Well, I have the one that I'm planning on daily driving for the summer." And he's like, "Oh, I know somebody who's really interested. He wants a GT." And I gave him a number. I arranged a showing. The guy called me and he said the guy wants the car. So what do you got to do when you get your number? Sometimes you just got to let stuff go. Like I said, it was completely unintentional. I was actually really looking forward to driving this car daily. I've been fortunate enough to be driving it daily for about 3 weeks now. It's been a really good shakedown for it. The only thing that went wrong out of all the things that could have, because if you remember, we put our mystery motor in here, is I had the little coolant lines blocked off that run up to where your throttle body would be. And I'll just go ahead, open the hood here and show you guys what I mean. So this coolant line here, there's a little nipple that's capped off, and that guy typically runs up to the throttle body spacer, and then on the other side goes back down to the back side of the lower intake manifold. And the nipple that I had put on the back must have failed, and it started spewing out coolant. So had to reach down back in there. I got that all fixed up yesterday, and everything is working as it should. There's definitely a B cam in this car, so I got the TPS adjusted. Everything seems to be tuned. The car is running good, and really no complaints. So I'm sure the new owner is going to be really happy with it. Every time that I've opened the door to this car and I've seen this custom interior that I did, it was always exciting. Again, my apologies, the car is filthy, you know, just all these days of rain that we've had. So getting back into what needs to be done for this car, needs a suspension swap. So he doesn't want it this low, and no, I didn't sell the car with those ROH ZR6 wheels. I am keeping those. Funny enough, he wanted to go back to a Cobra style, like what the car originally came on. So I found a set of 4-bolt, you know, aftermarket Eagle Cobras with good tires. So those are going to go on the car, but suspension wise, I'm actually going to be taking the springs out of this white coupe. Why? Well, I got a bunch of plans for this car, and there's going to be a transformational video coming soon about this guy, because it's all suspension and brake related, well, and wheel and tire. So long story short, I'm going to get this car in to the shop. I'm going to get it jacked up. I'm going to pull the front and the rear springs out, and then we'll get this guy in, and we'll be replacing the springs. But another thing that we need to do is actually swap the rear end. The reason being is that it has aftermarket upper control arms, I think lowers as well. One of the bushings in the top seems to be torn and is hanging out. It's not really making too much of a thump noise, but I want to make sure that it's addressed for the buyer. The other thing about this rear end is it's got 410s in it, and this thing screams on the highway. So I got another rear end that has you know, factory spline 373s in it. I just did the fluid and everything else, so I'm going to put that diff in there, and this diff will be coming out. So if any of you guys out there that are local to me that want a 410 diff with 31 spline setup, it's 4-bolt, but it's going to be coming out and it will be for sale. So anyways, let's get some cars shifted around, start getting some suspension swapped out, and get this GT ready for its new owner. All right, right, so got the 91 coupe right here on the floor. I'm going to be working in this spot. Suspension stuff can be easier on the ground as opposed to the lift anyways. Just, you know, when your jack's underneath your control arm in the front, especially when you're letting springs out. So one interesting thing about this car too is there is a leak in brake fluid in that passenger front. So that's kind of some of the reasoning behind taking out the suspension and upgrading some stuff, which again, stay tuned for what's going to happen with this car. But for now, we're just going to jack this thing up, pull out the suspension real quick, then we'll get the GT in here and we'll start doing our swap. All right, so wheels are off and you can actually see the paint just bubbling and flaking on this caliper. Funny thing is, when you peel the black off, you can actually see the old white paint underneath when I had them painted white. And below that might even be blue, because I think I had them blue, then white, then somebody after me went black. GT on the lift here, time to do the exact same thing, rip these springs out, but with the exception, we need to pop out this diff, so we'll be loosening all the control arms. I'll have to get the rear sway bar out of there and disconnect the brake line that's going to the distribution block for the rear diff, and then we'll be able to let that guy down. And in case you guys are wondering, the wheels are going to go on the car. Well, there they are right there. Lots of nice tread. It's just funny that the car is going back to the look that it was before, but it is what it is. Got our springs out of this guy, so they're all ready and cleaned up to go in there. So let's get ripping this thing apart. Fun fact about old school ROH ZR6 wheels. The earlier models came with a metal center cap that's actually threaded that screws into the wheel. Later model ZR6s came with this plasticky cap that clips into the ring and has a little Allen screw that tightens into the wheel. So think this, they might have discontinued this just because I know there's a lot of people that if you don't put some anti-seize or something on these threads, they can be a nightmare to get off. And this, the old screw, was a little bit more, you know, faithful and easier to use, and if something happened you could always drill that out and get your center cap off. So there you have it, cool fact. All right guys, so I knew that this white car was sitting a little lopsided and this spring was probably 1/4 of an inch higher in terms of where they cut it, so I just gave it a little rectification cut so that everything should be nice and level and even now. So pretty straightforward. Put this in, bolt everything back, put our new wheel on, and the front of this car will be ready in no time. So here's the springs we're putting in. Here's the springs that came out. It's a pretty dramatic drop there. These guys are going to be stiffer because these H&R Race are one of the stiffest springs that you can get. So a lot of materials come off this, and I was running no isolators. It was just that spring. So this is going to lift the car up quite a bit, probably a good inch or inch and a little bit. And we got all our isolators going back in as well. Make sure that everything's nice and quiet and snug and all those things. See that I took out the end link for the sway bar here. That's because this one was super short based on how low the car was. Now because the car is going up a bit, I got another end link kit that once I can put the car up in the air. And the one thing that's important is, or check that I always do, is there's always a little bit of movement between your strut and the spindle on the bolts when they're loose. So what I do is I always make sure that every time I always push in, so that way every time that I swap springs out or I do my suspension, the alignment will be consistent. So if I did this, pushed it in, tightened everything up, went and got an alignment, and then I said, oh, hey, I need to swap my springs. I'm going a bit higher, I'm going a bit lower. If I do that same thing every time, then most things are going to stay true. If I had pushed in and the next time I pull out, then my camber is going to be off. So provided you don't change anything on the top of your strut tower, you really don't have too much to worry alignment wise. Now, if you've gone down drastically, it's still good to get an alignment, but it's not going to be as pressing as you would if you just kind of change the whole strut and the strut mount assembly, the caster camber plates, all those things. Then for sure your toe is going to be off, your caster is going to be off, everything. So in this case, there's just going to be a little bit of camber difference. No other changes will have happened. So should be good here. Gonna zip over, get the other side done, then we can move on to the rear end. All right, guys, we're in the home stretch here. Got Dale helping me out on the rear brakes while I get the exhaust bolted on, sway bars in, brake lines are hooked up, so should be pretty much good here in the next 30 minutes or so I can actually get out of here on time. Brakes are bled, diff is changed, springs are changed, and got the end links updated in the front end. Didn't get everything on camera because, well, it's my fault. GoPro died. So that's it. One last step. Bolt these wheels on, drop the car down the rest of the little way. Maybe hit up a car wash because this thing's filthy. Well, here she is. The new look. The 90 GT. Sitting higher. Front should settle down a little bit after driving a little bit. I'll take it out for a drive, see how she sits. Hopefully it's all good. All right, guys, so the 1990 GT ran and drove really well. The 373s are so much of a nicer gear on the road. I despise the 410s. It's way too high. You're doing nothing but shifting all the time. You know, does a car feel like it's faster? I guess, but at the same time, I feel like with the 373s, you can like let the car wind out a little bit more. 355s are probably ultimately my favorite, especially if you have a power adder or if you have a really nice all motor monster. But the 373s are honestly a great gear. So the car, like I said, it's nice not to have to slow down so much over some of the bumps around the absolutely horrible roads that we have here. But the front looks like it's sitting just a tad high. Hopefully the springs will settle down a little bit with a little bit more driving. If not, the isolators could always come out. One last thing that I need to do for the new buyer is he wants 5.0 emblems on the car. So going to wipe off some of this rain and debris from this horrible weather we've been having. Get the 5.0 emblems put on, and the new owner should be here soon to come and pick this car up. So again, it's a little sad that my daily driver's gone, but you know, cash talks, and it was a cool project to do, you know, at the end of last year. So I kind of reverted that 2-hour transformation that I did. So unfortunately, you know, the car doesn't have as many infamous project touches on it now, but that interior is still in there, and that interior is badass. The motor with the mystery motor in there, that turned out great, and I'm sure the new owner is going to be super happy with the car. So there you have it, guys. That's why the 90 GT went back to Cobra wheels and why it got raised up, and the Dugan wing is off and back to the factory wing. And on to the next project. All right, guys, so it is a really shitty day today for new car pickup, which Tommy here behind me is the new proud owner of the 1990 GT, and went out for a little test drive, and good thing we did. Had a little bit of an exhaust rattle from swapping out the diff. And also got my nylon fuel lines in the wrong spot, and actually managed to nick the return line. And that was ignorance on my part, swapping out so much stuff so fast, but good thing it happened on our test drive.
Oh yeah. Glad I got you to drive it first too.
So yeah, that hey, full transparency here. Shit happens sometimes. And that's just what happens, just kind of the way the lines were going up over the axle, and having done the control arms, the lines got moved and something must have got stuck where it shouldn't have been. So that's that. But Tommy, what do you think of your new car, man?
I love it, man. I've been looking for one of these hatchbacks for, I don't know, 10, 15 years, and I finally had the ability to do it. Through the pipeline, I heard about Chris. I didn't realize he was the sensation he is. Found the car. He sent me pictures of it, and I just knew I had to have it. And of course, with that, I changed a few things, and without any reluctancy, Chris was like, "Yep, we'll get that done. We'll get that done." And within the timeline of working on, I don't know, 5 or 6 other cars, probably he had it ready. So here she is, and I'm gonna rip on out of here. And man, I just took your daily driver.
Yeah, I'm gotta say I am a little upset, but I'm happy that it's going to good hands. Tommy's a great guy. Been in touch for a while now, and there needs to be more, I guess, buyers or enthusiasts like you that make things run so smooth, man. So
cool. Well, thanks I appreciate that, man. And you held your end of the bargain every inch of the way. So for anyone who's watching his videos, yeah, full transparency, and the knowledge is, if he will have the answers for you if you need it. So
appreciate
cool.
that. Yeah. Awesome, guys. Well, there you go, man.
Peace out, infamous.
Don't stall it.
Don't stall it. 2 years.
There we go, guys. Another infamous project car down the road. A little bittersweet. Gotta love the sound of those long tubes and off-road H-pipe. Those are becoming like gold now. Anyways, guys, it's a crummy day here, as you can see. Poor project tax return. Sitting here, engine bay's getting a little bit of a wash there, which it's all good. Getting the dust off it, we'll wipe it all down, get it all cleaned up. Damn, guys, so like, how embarrassing is that? You know, I go out of my way, make sure that all the things that need to be done for Tommy's car are done in advance, and, you know, took the car out numerous times. I've been shaking that thing down, and everything was going so smooth. And of course, the day that he's picking up the car, the moment we go out for a test drive, you know, we get down the road and all of a sudden could smell some fuel and, yep, nick that return line. And it was just kind of over the axle where the upper control arm was. Something must have happened in there where it got pinched or it was in the way. And ignorance, you know, sometimes shit happens. But Tommy's a really good guy. He was cool about it. Most importantly, he had confidence in me that I could get it fixed up, which, yeah, we got it on the hoist. We got it fixed up in no time. And it was a good opportunity for him to see underneath the car, and showed him a few other things. He's planning on doing all his own oil changes and maintenance and all those types of related items. So I'm happy that he's happy. I don't even have a car to drive myself home tonight. So, and it's raining, so walking is out of the question. So guess I'm going to get back working on the 91 Detch and try and find myself a way home, as nobody's here. Didn't even think about that. Anyways, till next time, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Tommy, enjoy that new car.